Hi guys, Mike Jingles here again. Welcome back to my World of Tanks replays. We're still on the patch 7.5 test server, and just while you're all waiting for the Object 268 review, here's a little something I prepared earlier. Trust me, I will get the Object 268 review up. I hope to do it today. I will not rest until I have that thing in my garage. It is easily the most requested video review that I've ever known. And I am looking forward to it as well. It looks like it's going to be a very, very good little machine. However, while we're waiting for that, just to keep you busy, here is a review of the Lorraine40t Tier 9 heavy tank, which obviously is just the Lorraine40t Tier 8 heavy tank with a few buffs bumped up a tier, as is the case with most of the French tanks from Tier 5 up in the light and medium line. Now, what changes have occurred to the Lorraine? Well, I still really like this tank. It basically performs exactly at Tier 9 as it did in Tier 8. It has received some buffs, however. Now, I should just point out that I actually recorded this video on the day the original 7.5 test server went live, because straight away the first thing I wanted to see was how my beloved Lorraine performed at Tier 9, and it performs very well indeed. However, you're going to notice a couple of differences because the video was recorded in the first version of the test build, and I'm doing the garage review in the second version of the test build. So just bear that in mind, and I'll point out the obvious changes here in the garage. So first of all, the Lorraine has had a health buff. It's gone up to 1500 hit points. That's actually been nerfed down from 1600 hit points in the original build of the test patch. It did have 1600. In the second version of the test patch, it's only got 1500, which is still, not bad. I mean, that's the French thing. They have lousy health, crap armor, but they're really quick, they're really maneuverable, and they've got guns that pack a punch. That's just the way the French tanks are, and I don't really have a problem with that. So 1500 health, still more than the Lorraine had, obviously, which you'd expect. It's been bumped up to Tier 9. Everything else pretty much the same as it was at Tier 8. It still is a 39-ton tank with a very powerful engine, so it's very quick. It turns very well. The turret traverse is really good. The armor is non-existent. It's still got the 400 meter view range, and it's still got the 750 meter signal range. Practically nothing stat-wise has changed on it other than the hit point buff. However, anybody who drives the Lorraine at Tier 8 will tell you that its biggest weakness and its biggest strength is that gun. Check out the stats: 232 penetration, 300 average damage, 0.36 accuracy, very slow aiming time. Rate of fire, again, it's an autocannon. It's magazine fed, so the rate of fire displayed on the gun itself is meaningless. And I want to talk about that because that has received a significant buff. Now, I was talking about this gun being its biggest advantage and its biggest handicap, and that's still true, but it's not quite as much of an advantage and a handicap at Tier 9 as it was at Tier 8. I'll explain what I mean here. First of all, the damage and penetration and accuracy and aiming time haven't changed. It's exactly the same. Now, the Batchat had this gun at Tier 9, so don't let the fact that it says Tier 8 up here deceive you. The Batchat still performed very well with this gun. It was exactly the same gun on the Batchat when the Batchat was Tier 9. So they haven't given the Lorraine a new gun at Tier 9 because it still had, a gun that was good enough. However, having this gun on a Tier 8 tank certainly did make it feel a little overpowered. And certainly everybody complained that it was an overpowered tank. The same gun, but on a tank a tier higher, well, it doesn't feel quite as good as it did at Tier 8, I'll just put it that way. Or it wouldn't if it wasn't for the fact that it has actually been buffed. Now, this tank at Tier 8, once you fired those 6 shots, the reload was in the region of 50 seconds. Depending on crew skills, depending on equipment fitted modules like ventilation, whether or not you had brothers in arms, you were looking at 50-second reload on this thing, and that is what limited the Lorraine more than anything else. However, when you put this gun on the Batchat, a tier higher, with exactly the same gun, the reload time went down to around 35 seconds. And that's what made the Batchat so dangerous. That's kind of happened on the Lorraine as well. It's exactly the same gun, it's the same tank, but that reload has gone down to, I think, around about 37 seconds. So that is a very, very welcome change, from a 50-second reload down to about 37 seconds, between 35 and 37 seconds, again depending on your crew skills and so on and so on. So it effectively performs at tier 9 pretty much just like the Batchat did. It's not as quick as the Batchat, not much slower, but you know, this kind of effectively is the new Batchat, and it still does very, very well, thanks to getting its health buffed and having the reload time on that gun reduced. Now, speaking of the damage that the gun pushes out, now the Batchat kind of had this problem at tier 9 as well. It's got 6 shots with an average penetration of 232, which is fine, and an average damage of 300. Now that is only 20 damage less than the T62A's tier 10 tank gun, so it's a good amount of damage. But you're going to find you have the same problems in the Lorraine that you did with the Batchat at tier 9, in that while those 6 shots do 300 damage each, right, my maths is useless, I wish I had a calculator. 6 times 300, that's 1800 damage, isn't it? 3 times 6, yeah, 1800 damage on average. That should be enough to kill a pattern. It should be enough to kill an E50, and it should be enough to kill a T54. These are all same tier as you, tier 9. In practice, because of the accuracy on the move of this gun, one or more of those shots is going to miss, or just not penetrate, or bounce, you know. So in practice, it's very, very hard, as it was for the Lorraine, for the Batchat at tier 9 as well, to take down an equivalent tier medium tank one-on-one. But that's not really what the Lorraine is for. This thing, as it did at tier 8, excels when it's... I mean, you can sit behind a rock and shoot things at long range with this thing, and you're going to find that you do some of that, purely because of the way the thing plays. You never want to go toe-to-toe with enemy tanks in this thing, certainly not if their guns are pointing at you. Just like the Batchat, playing this thing is more about getting around the sides and rear, more than in any other medium tank, because in other medium tanks you can at least take a few hits. This thing cannot. So, and it plays exactly the same as it did at tier 8. You don't go toe-to-toe with enemy tanks in this thing. You let other tanks engage them, and then you scream around the sides and rear using your incredible manoeuvrability, and that's where you kill them from. And in that respect, this gun is fine. So I wanted to keep this one short. Just quickly go over the plus and minus points. There aren't really that many minus points. The plus points are pretty big. And then have a look at the video. Just bear in mind this video was made in the first version of the test build, so when you look at the Lorraine there, you'll see that it does have 1600 health. Let's get on with it. So here it is, the Lorraine40t as a tier 9 medium tank. You know, as mentioned in the garage, the only real physical buff it's received is that extra 400 health to make it a tier 9 medium, but 1600 health is on the low side for a tier 9 medium tank, but you know, that's the French tanks for you across the board. But it's still a very, very welcome addition. 1600 health, you can take a few more hits in this thing. And despite the proliferation of the massive penetration tank guns at tier 10, the Lorraine has never been worried about the penetration of the guns shooting at it anyway, because tier 5 tanks can penetrate the Lorraine, so it really it doesn't make the slightest bit of difference to how you play. The good news is, now that it's at tier 9, that 100mm gun has a reduced loading time between clips. It's now down to 37 seconds, which is a massive buff. It's going to vary depending on your crew skills and what equipment you have mounted. And I just not fast enough to get that super Pershing. But yeah, in my tank, in my setup, 37-second reload, down from 52 seconds when the Lorraine was tier 8. So that's a fantastic change. And those are really the only two changes that the Lorraine's had. It's got the same crappy armour, it's just as quick as it ever was. Oh, missed. Bummer. Yep. But it's got more health, and the gun is even better. Let's see what sort of a mess we can make of that super Pershing. One shot. 2 shots. Spaced armor took the hit. 3 shots. 4 shots. Yeah, happy with that. And now we're reloading. And so we need to pull back. You've always got to... It's very much a hit and run style of gameplay in this thing. That is the sort... I mean, this hasn't changed. But whether it's tier 8 or tier 9. The Lorraine loves catching tanks isolated, cut off from the rest of the team, and just utterly humiliating them. And if it can't do that, well, then it uses its superior speed, manoeuvrability to get around the backs of tanks that are engaged with bigger targets. And it kind of plays like a light tank, and none of this has changed between, you know, 7.4 and 7.5. It still plays the same way. It's just even better at doing it now.
We didn't even scratch him. We've got them.
That T-54 has no idea where these shots are coming from. Can we kill him? Probably not. Oh yes we can. Oh, lovely. So yeah, T-54. Russian tier 9 medium tank. You can kill him with a full clip, provided all those hits penetrate, and one of those shots penetrated and did no damage. So 6 shots fired, 5 of them actually did damage, good enough to kill a T-54. Love this gun. It was fantastic at tier 8, it's just as good at tier 9. I should point out, however, it's not as good at tier 9 as the Batchat's gun was at tier 9, but there's very, very minor differences. I think, again, dependent on crew skills and the equipment that you have mounted. The Batchat had a 35-second reload on this gun, and the Lorraine has that down to 37 seconds. So, you know, it's still pretty damn good. I wonder if we can get through this IS-8.
Enemy armor is hit.
Yep, we can get through the side of an IS-8's turret. That was a bit speculative. You really shouldn't expect... Oh, somebody else got him. You really shouldn't expect to hit targets with the Lorraine's gun at that sort of range. Certainly not aiming for, you know, turrets. If he was fully exposed side on at that sort of range, I'd take the shot. But he wasn't. So, given that there was only 4 of them left in the enemy team at the time, it was kind of worth wasting the shell. And it turned out not to be wasted. It hit and it did damage. And now all they have left is a T-95. So yeah. Now this is a tier 9 game. And again, looking at the reduced matchmaking spread, not counting the tier 5 scout, the lowest tier in this game is tier 8. So there's only tier 8 and 9 tanks in this game, and that's good news. It makes it harder for you to get the kills if you're top tier, but it makes it significantly easier to compete if you're bottom tier. And that's the new matchmaker for you. So there you go. The Lorraine at tier 9. It's even better than it was at tier 7. The only thing that, sorry, not tier 7, better than it was at tier 8. The only thing that held it back at tier 8, aside from the crappy armour, which is common to all the French tanks, and you know, you go into games expecting everything to be able to penetrate you, was the ridiculous 52-second reload on that 100mm gun, and that's down to 37 seconds now, which is kind of manageable. It's basically taken over from the Bat Chat. I mean, obviously it's taken over from the Bat Chat because now it's at tier 9 and the Bat Chat's at tier 10. But it seems to perform just like the Bat Chat did at tier 9. It's not quite as fast as the Bat Chat. It doesn't reload quite as fast as the Bat Chat did, but it's nearly there. It was a great tank at tier 8. It's an even better tank at tier 9. And there are people who are worried about, oh, but now we have to fight against all these new tier 10 mediums, and they've got this ridiculous penetration gun. Guys, you could be fighting against Churchills and they would be able to penetrate you. It doesn't matter that these guns all have 300mm of penetration. Guns with 70mm of penetration could penetrate the Lorraine. It's completely irrelevant. The only things that have changed are you can now take more hits and you can put the shots out faster than before. So the Lorraine at tier 9 is a fantastic tank. It was my favourite tier 8 medium. It's going to be my favourite tier 9 medium. If you love your French tanks, get yourself a Lorraine. It's great now, it's going to be even better. So that was the Lorraine on the 7.5 test server. Stay tuned for more 7.5 goodness in future vids to come.